Over the last 20 years, there's been a number of different parkour brands and businesses which have appeared and sadly disappeared. Today, we're going to be looking at a list of some of the best parkour brands that existed that are no longer with us. The Crap Store. Crap Store was a clothing brand born by the Crap Association since 2008. It was involved in parkour, freerunning, skateboarding and BMX. It supported a number of international athletes and its clothing was shipped all around the world. In the English language, the brand is weird to say because it sounds like you're insulting them. And it was always a bit of a running joke in the parkour community. Despite it being in the parkour community for a number of years, the 2020 pandemic really affected the business. They saw a huge decline of sales online, and the company ended up being too much for the people who were running it. This led to them downsizing their business before closing the company and selling their stocks a few months later. In their final days, they ran a huge 50% discount sale. They had over 2,000 clothes that they needed to move and sell. And from one of the emails that I read, they said that they needed to raise over 50,000 euros to settle with banks and suppliers. Despite the clothing closing down for Crap, they're still posting on social media and even their YouTube channel. So maybe the Crap Store might come back in the next few years. But for now, it's good to see that the guys are still going, even if the store is closed. Storm Freerun. Storm Freerun at one point were the biggest parkour team in the world. They had likes of Tim Sheaf, Kai Willis and Paul Joseph, aka Blue Devil. Over the years, Storm Freerun released a bunch of iconic videos, including the legendary Storm Freerun Volume 1. So one of their founders and arguably one of the most iconic athletes on the team, Tim Sheaf, also hosted a parkour channel called Flow. And since the beginning of Storm Freerun, every few years the athletes would switch up and change. And in 2015, Tim Sheaf decided to quit parkour and pursue veganism, which meant that one of Storm's longest members decided to leave and quit. Storm was still around for a few years after that. They released some exciting new clothing pieces and they also changed the content that they were sharing on their YouTube channel. Sadly, in the last few years, the Storm Freerun content dried up. Some members pursued different careers and without an explanation, Storm Freerun just stopped posting and stopped being present within the community. Their website went down, the videos stopped uploading and Storm Freerun fizzled out. But on the 1st of April 2024, there was a Storm Freerun video uploaded to both Instagram and YouTube. It was a teaser for Storm Freerun Volume 2. And although it was posted on April Fool's Day, the 1st of April, it reignited the passion and the love that everyone had for Storm Freerun. Also, it made everyone feel that we're finally getting the Storm Freerun Volume 2. And although I don't actually think that this is coming, I do think it is a very good gag and a very good joke. It'll be good to see the Storm Freerun team reunite once again, especially now that Tim Sheaf is back doing parkour, but I don't think it's going to be possible. Etrafort. Etrafort was a parkour brand based out of Switzerland. And I'm going to butcher these names, but it was founded by Felix Stockley and Roger Widmer. They started Etrafort in 2012. And for a number of years, they were one of parkour's most iconic brands. They released a number of different products, but their staple piece and most iconic item was the baggy sweatpants. Etrafort was a huge brand back in the day, with numerous of athletes promoting their products. They had athletes like Callun, Louisa Kim, and Raymond Sigalatha promoting their products across social media. Despite their staple within the parkour community and their unique design, Etrafort closed down in 2022, shortly after their 10-year anniversary. There was a number of different reasons for this. One of them was the rising production costs. They were a company based in Switzerland, which meant large prices of shipping to the UK and the US. And from other clothing brands that I've spoken to, the UK and US are some of the biggest markets. Also, the style of baggy pants was also leaving parkour, with slimmer jeans and joggers or cargos and straight leg trousers becoming the trend. Etrafort did release coloured chinos in 2021, but it may have been a little bit too late. I jumped on Reddit to look about Etrafort when it closed down, and what people said was it was quite expensive. This is because Etrafort didn't outsource their product to China. They were a Switzerland business, and although I didn't know where they did the production from, I can only assume they tried to keep it as local as possible. And because of that, that does make the product more expensive. Their clothing was made for parkour and it was built to last. You should always support parkour brands where possible. And if you don't have the money to afford their product, you can comment on their posts, you can like their posts, you can share their posts. All businesses within parkour are small, and supporting them is massive and huge, and it would mean a massive amount to the owners of those businesses. Lachette. Lachette was a Danish parkour brand that was founded in 2011, and it had a focus on promoting freerunning as a lifestyle, and it also wanted to support the Danish parkour community. They would run numerous events each year and sell clothing on their website. So from what I've seen on social media and some of the conversations that I've had with people within the community, Lachette would also feature other parkour brands on their store. A few photos on the Instagram shows that at one point they did have Etrefort clothing on their website. So the business ran for a number of years from 2011 to 2016, and it was founded by Christopher Clausen. In 2016, Christopher posted on social media saying that he would be stepping down from Lachette and the brand would be closing indefinitely as he was focusing on his master's degree. On Facebook, he also shared a link to a YouTube channel which had a very heartwarming video of the best moments of Lachette over the last 5 years. Since the original post on the 8th of June 2016, there was one more post on the 5th of July 2016 that showed an empty container. 8 years on, it doesn't look like Lachette is returning, and it is one of the missed parkour brands out there. The Motus projects. It looked like 2022 was the year that killed a number of different parkour brands and businesses. The Motus Projects was one of the most iconic and loved parkour clothing brands within the community. It was founded in 2015 by Giles Campbell Longley, who worked with Tim Sheaf on the Flow channel, and Motus produced iconic videos like Soul Destroyer, Spitting in the Wind, and Resurgence. The Motus Projects were always open about how difficult it was running a parkour business, and their owner Giles always wanted to share his tips and advice to helping others. And despite all the struggles, Motus kept going for a number of years. However, in December 2022, they announced that they would be closing down. This came to a shock to the parkour community. In their caption on the Instagram post, Giles said, "It had been no secret that Motus hadn't been an easy couple of years." And whilst it was sad that Motus was closing down, it was all for good reason. The main team at Motus, Giles, Callun and Bloggy, were joining the Stora team. They were using all the experience they got from working at the Motus projects to help Stora build their parkour empire. As they say, one door closes and another one opens. And although it's sad to see that Motus has gone, as it was such a loved brand within the community, it was because of a new and exciting opportunity for those who were involved. The Parkour store. So the Parkour store is something a little bit different on this list, as it wasn't a parkour brand, but an online store built by the community for the community. It was a non-profit organisation, meaning it wouldn't be taking any money from the work that it was doing. Essentially, it was here to solve some problems that I mentioned that were in the Etrefort section: cheaper shipping for the community and better service. They would organise events, sponsor athletes, and help jams with their equipment. Their idea was to build that project and that support for the community before a big corporate brand came in. They had a warehouse in both Germany and the United States, and by bringing some of the community's products into those warehouses, it meant that the customers in those countries didn't have to pay custom fees. Shopping within parkour is a challenge. I'm quite lucky because I'm based in the UK and there's a number of different parkour brands in this country. However, if I want to shop from anywhere like Capstone, who are based in Australia, I put my £75 into the basket and then I get to check out with the shipping, and it costs anywhere between £10 to £20 for that shipping, which makes my £75 hoodie close to £100. And the Parkour store was here to solve that problem. For example, if they purchased some Team Farang stock and brought it over to their Germany warehouse, that would allow those in the UK and Europe to buy some Team Farang product without having to pay the shipment costs from Bangkok. Parkour store ran for a number of years, and they did have some of the biggest brands within the community on their website. They had the likes of Crap, Team Farang and the Motus projects. From what I saw, they were active on Instagram until 2019, and I couldn't find any reasons as to why the Parkour store was closed. Through some of the members in the community that I've spoken on Reddit and Discord, they thought Parkour store was a university project, and after the few years at university, there was no need for it to be running anymore. There's also some discussions about how it wasn't very cost effective. I think Parkour store was ahead of its time. It's a brilliant idea, but I think back then, and even now, a parkour doesn't have enough business for something like that. Because it was ahead of its time, I don't think there was enough demand for the business side of it. So back in 2016 to 2019, it was very rare for a parkour brand to be ordering large amounts of stock. And if I was a parkour brand back then, I would have to order my stock in, and then Parkour store would come to me and would buy quite a large bulk at discount. If my margins for my business weren't set up properly, I wouldn't be making any money from Parkour store purchases. As well, if I've never done anything like that before, selling from my UK business and shipping it to Germany or to the US could be quite expensive. And although Parkour store would probably cover this fee, if I didn't know how much it was to send, I would also be losing money. And whilst I thought it was a good idea, I think at the time it was probably affecting a lot of parkour businesses. By sending a chunk of their stock to the Parkour store and sending it over to the US or Germany, the brand could be losing more money than selling it through their own website or through their own platform or through their own events. And if you were to flip it around to the Parkour store side, they were a non-profit organisation, which meant any money that they made would just be invested back into the project. They would have to buy products either at the normal price or at a slight discount. Financially, for those who are running and are involved in this project, this could be quite consuming, especially if they're using the money from Parkour Store to fund the community and support the community. Again, through conversations with the community that I've had, I was told that they did approach a parkour facility within the UK, and they wanted to see if this facility would purchase the Parkour Store. And at the time, the indoor facility didn't have the money to purchase it. And apart from the conversations that I've had with people, all of that is theory. I have no evidence to suggest that my theory is correct.
So literally no more than like 10 minutes after I put the camera off, someone who was involved in Parkour Store responded to a message that I sent. And they basically said it's not a very interesting story, and it was basically like a retail store that worked business to business, just like any other online retail store, really. What they said though was that there was only a few parkour brands that were actually organized enough for it to kind of work. Obviously it's something that needs a lot of communication, a lot of speaking, and apparently there was only a couple of brands that were able to kind of have their ducks in a row to sort that sort of thing out. They said that it was just a lot of hassle and a lot of pain in the backside towards the end, and that some people just weren't very responsive. They said that also a couple of brands had released some clothing that probably didn't sell too well, and so those who were kind of putting money into it weren't matching that money back through the sales towards the end. So in the end, the guys that started it just wanted to do something a little bit different. So that's kind of summarized the story, but I still do really want to hear more about it. So if you do have anything, please let me know.
So that was some of the parkour brands that have disappeared over the last few years. Have I missed any parkour brands? Please let me know by dropping a comment. This is a new experiment, it's a new type of video for this channel, so I hope you did enjoy it. If you did like the video, make sure you give it a like and subscribe to the channel. And we also have a join platform where all the videos go live early, and we'll get some exclusive content coming soon. All of our socials and websites are in the description, and thanks for watching.